My neighbor's kid bullied my sister and broke her Nintendo Switch. The next day, he showed up with a black eye and a broken arm. 3 months later, his mom tried to kidnap my sister I, 22M, became the legal guardian of my little sister Emma, 11F, last year, after a lengthy court battle with our parents. Without going into too much detail, our childhood was filled with constant emotional and verbal abuse. Our parents were incredibly controlling, always putting on a show for others while treating us horribly behind closed doors. I worked multiple jobs through high school, saved every penny, and when I turned 21, I finally had enough resources to seek legal guardianship of Emma and get us both away from that toxic environment. 3 months ago, we moved across the country to a small college town where my old friend from summer camp, Tyler, 23M, offered us a room in his rental house near campus. I found a decent job at a local warehouse that pays enough for rent and our basic needs. Emma started at the local elementary school, and things seemed to be looking up for us. My plan was to save enough money for our own apartment, maybe take some community college classes next year, and build a stable life for both of us. On our first day moving in, the neighbor from next door came over with her son. Karen, 45F, brought homemade brownies and introduced herself and her son Dylan, 11M. At first, she seemed friendly, asking where we were from and complimenting how well-spoken Emma was. But then her questions became increasingly personal. Why we moved so far from home, where our parents were, why I was taking care of my sister at such a young age. I kept my answers vague, just mentioning we were from Arizona and wanted a fresh start. Karen kept pushing for more details, and Emma, who has always been direct, finally told her that our reasons for moving were personal and not something we wanted to discuss with strangers. Karen's face immediately changed. She placed the brownies on the counter, grabbed Dylan's arm so hard I noticed his wince, and marched back to her house without another word. When I mentioned this to Tyler later, he laughed and said Karen was infamous in the neighborhood for being nosy and passive-aggressive. According to him, most neighbors avoided her because she was always spreading gossip and criticizing others while presenting herself as the perfect mother and homemaker. He told me not to worry about it. About a week later, Karen approached Emma and me while we were unloading groceries from my car. She apologized for being overly curious and suggested that Emma and Dylan could play together since they were the same age and would be in the same class at school. I asked Emma if she wanted to, and she shrugged indifferently. I told Karen that Emma could play for an hour. While the kids were outside, Karen invited me over for coffee. I reluctantly accepted, not wanting to create more tension with our neighbor. In her immaculate kitchen, Karen brought up Emma's comment from our first meeting, calling it disrespectful, and suggesting that Emma needed to learn proper manners. I explained that Emma was just being honest and wasn't trying to be rude, but I deliberately avoided apologizing because I actually agreed with Emma. Our past wasn't Karen's business. Karen seemed bothered by my lack of apology, but quickly changed the subject. She spent the next hour bragging about Dylan and her 2 older children who were away at college. According to her, Dylan was a spirited boy who sometimes acted out but was just expressing his creativity. As she described some of his antics, like releasing frogs in the school cafeteria and putting glue on his teacher's chair, it became clear that Dylan had serious behavioral issues that Karen was dismissing as normal boyish behavior. When I picked Emma up later, I asked her how it went with Dylan. She said he was okay, but added that he was pretty spoiled and rude. I was surprised she still wanted to play with him, but she insisted she could handle it. A few days later, Karen introduced me to her husband, Robert, 47M, who was home briefly between business trips. During our short interaction, Robert barely looked up from his phone and stepped away twice to take calls. Karen explained that he worked in sales and traveled most weekdays, but made sure to emphasize how devoted he was to their family despite his busy schedule. Over the next few months, I started noticing a pattern. Emma would come home from school with stories about Dylan's behavior. He constantly poked her and pulled her hair at the bus stop. On the school bus, he kicked the back of her seat until the driver finally moved him. In class, he spread rumors that Emma was stalking him, which immediately turned other kids against her. He regularly took her pencils and erasers, called her names, and when they were in the neighborhood with other kids, he made fun of her clothes and the fact that she lived with her brother instead of her parents. Each time Emma told me about these incidents, I asked if she had reported them to her teacher or the bus driver. She said she had, but nothing ever changed. I was troubled that I never received any calls from the school about these problems. I spoke with the bus driver and Emma's teacher, who assured me they would monitor the situation, but I didn't see any improvements. I attempted to discuss Dylan's behavior with Karen multiple times. Each time, she brushed it off with comments like, "Boys will be boys," or suggested that Dylan was just acting this way because he had a crush on Emma. She never acknowledged that his behavior was problematic or needed to be addressed. What confused me most was that despite all this, Dylan frequently came over asking specifically to play with Emma, and she usually agreed. I repeatedly told Emma she didn't have to play with someone who treated her poorly, but she insisted she was fine. When I supervised their play, I noticed Dylan's behavior was inconsistent. Sometimes he teased Emma, and she gave it right back, which often surprised him. Other times he complained constantly about everything, while Emma showed remarkable patience, and occasionally they actually played well together and seemed to enjoy each other's company. Everything changed last Tuesday. I was cooking dinner when I heard screaming from outside. I ran out to find Emma crying hysterically. For her last birthday before we left, I had saved up for months to buy her a Nintendo Switch Lite, literally the only valuable possession she owned. She and Dylan had been playing Mario Kart, and after Emma beat him 3 races in a row, Dylan grabbed the Switch, deliberately snapped it in half, and then tried to punch Emma when she yelled at him. Emma blocked the punch by grabbing his arm, but the incident triggered memories of past abuse, and she completely broke down. I was furious. I told Dylan he was never allowed to play with Emma again. He ran home crying while I took Emma inside to calm her down. Less than 5 minutes later, Karen burst into our house without knocking, screaming at the top of her lungs. She called Emma a liar, claimed she was a terrible influence on Dylan, and suggested that she needed proper discipline, implying I wasn't doing a good job as her guardian. Before I could explain what actually happened, Karen stormed out. I assumed Dylan had told her some completely different version of events. I spent that evening comforting Emma, making her favorite mac and cheese for dinner, watching a movie with her, and sitting with her until she fell asleep. The next morning, I offered to let her stay home from school, but she insisted she was okay to go. When Emma came home that afternoon, she was clearly upset again. She told me Dylan had come to school late with his arm in a cast and a massive black eye. When his classmates asked what happened, he said he fell down the stairs. Emma tried to talk to him at recess, but he avoided her completely. I immediately felt sick to my stomach. The timing, right after the incident with the Switch and Karen's rage, seemed far too coincidental. The fell down the stairs excuse is classic, and Dylan's avoidance of Emma suggested something was very wrong. My first instinct was to call the police or Child Protective Services, but I hesitated. I had no direct evidence of abuse, just the timing and the severity of Dylan's injuries. Karen had always presented herself as a loving, involved mother. She constantly praised Dylan and was extremely protective of him. I had never witnessed any signs of physical abuse, only her enabling of his bad behavior. I was also concerned that Karen, with her focus on maintaining a perfect image, could easily convince authorities everything was fine. If she found out I had reported her and the investigation was dismissed due to lack of evidence, I worried about retaliation against Emma or me. I asked Emma if Dylan had ever shown signs of abuse before, bruises, unusual fear of his parents, or any complaints about his home life. She said no, adding that Dylan rarely talked about his family at all. I felt completely lost about what to do. Tyler would be home from his classes soon, and I decided to wait and discuss the situation with him before taking any action. Despite Dylan's terrible behavior toward Emma, no child deserves to be hurt, and I was genuinely worried about his safety. Update 1. When Tyler got home that evening, he brought his cousin Alex, 25 me, along. I explained everything that had happened, the Switch incident, Karen's outburst, and Dylan's injuries the next day. Alex was immediately concerned and offered us his spare bedroom at his apartment across town. He lived in a completely different neighborhood where Karen wouldn't know to look for us. I accepted his offer right away. That night, Emma and I packed our essential belongings and moved to Alex's apartment. I knew this meant Emma would miss school the next day, but her safety was my priority. The following morning, I called her school to explain that Emma would be absent due to a family emergency. While on the phone, I asked to speak with a guidance counselor about the situation with Dylan. After being placed on hold for nearly 45 minutes, I finally spoke with a counselor named Ms. Jenkins. Ms. Jenkins informed me that the school was already aware of Dylan's injuries. His teacher had reported them, and the school had contacted Child Protective Services. She also revealed that Dylan had a long history of behavioral problems, and several parents had previously requested their children be moved to different classes because of him. According to Ms. Jenkins, Karen had always managed to prevent any action being taken against Dylan through a combination of aggressive complaints to the administration and participation in the PTA. However, the recent injuries had raised serious concerns that couldn't be ignored. I formally requested that Emma be transferred to a different class when she returned to school. Ms. Jenkins assured me that she would process this request immediately. I thanked her and ended the call, relieved that official channels were already investigating the situation. Later that day, I checked in with Tyler, who reported that he hadn't seen any CPS workers at Karen's house yet. Concerned about the delay, I decided to call CPS directly. I explained everything to the intake worker, the history of Dylan's bullying, the switch incident, Karen's reaction, Dylan's injuries, and the suspicious excuse. The worker confirmed they had received the school's report and assured me they would send someone to check on Dylan immediately. About an hour later, Tyler texted me that CPS workers had arrived at Karen's house. He could hear Karen arguing loudly with them through the walls. After some time, the CPS workers knocked on Tyler's door. They explained they couldn't share specific details due to confidentiality laws, but confirmed that Karen and Robert were now under investigation. They advised Tyler to keep his doors locked and report any concerning behavior immediately. When asked about Dylan, they only said he was being taken care of, which I hoped meant he was safe. Meanwhile, at Alex's apartment, I sat down with Emma for a serious conversation about friendship and boundaries. I wanted to make sure she understood that she didn't have to tolerate mistreatment from anyone, including Dylan. During our talk, Emma broke down and admitted that she only continued to play with Dylan because he was the only kid who ever asked her to play. At school, the other children had believed Dylan's rumors and excluded her. She felt she had no other friends and was willing to put up with his behavior just to have someone to play with. Her confession broke my heart. Emma had endured so much already in her young life, and now she was dealing with isolation and bullying in what was supposed to be our fresh start. I hugged her tight and promised that things would get better. I explained that we would be looking for a new place to live permanently, away from Karen and Dylan. I also promised to help her make new friends at her new school. With Alex's help, I started searching for an affordable apartment in his neighborhood. We found a small 2-bedroom unit in the same complex that would be available at the end of the month. I immediately put down a deposit, using most of my savings. The rent would be tight on my warehouse salary, but Alex mentioned that his workplace was hiring security guards with flexible hours that would work around my current job. I applied right away. Tyler continued to update me on the situation next door. According to him, Robert had returned home and was now staying there full-time, something that apparently never happened before. CPS workers had visited the house 3 more times. Karen had stopped flaunting her perfect family image around the neighborhood and was notably absent from school events. Dylan hadn't returned to school yet. I focused on getting Emma registered at the elementary school in our new neighborhood. The administration was much more responsive than at her previous school. When I explained our situation, without mentioning specific names, the principal arranged for Emma to meet with the school counselor weekly. She also suggested introducing Emma to a few friendly students who could show her around when she started. Emma seemed hopeful about the change. She was excited about having her own bedroom in our new apartment and starting fresh at a school where no one knew her. I bought her a sketch pad and colored pencils after noticing she had been doodling more and more. She started spending hours drawing elaborate scenes of fantastical landscapes, mountains, forests, and oceans filled with imaginative creatures. It was the most relaxed I'd seen her since we moved across the country. Alex was incredibly supportive throughout this transition. He helped us move our remaining belongings from Tyler's house when Karen wasn't home. He introduced Emma to his cat, Milo, who quickly became her favorite companion. He even taught her how to make simple meals when I was working late shifts at the warehouse. One evening, Emma asked me if Dylan was okay. Despite everything he had done, she was worried about him. I told her honestly that I didn't know exactly what was happening, but that professionals were making sure he was safe. I explained that while Dylan had behaved badly toward her, it might be because he was experiencing problems at home that we didn't understand. I emphasized that this didn't excuse his actions but might help explain them. Emma nodded thoughtfully and asked if we could get him a card wishing him well. Her empathy, even towards someone who had hurt her, reminded me why I had fought so hard to become her guardian. We bought a simple card the next day, and Emma wrote a short message inside. I mailed it to Dylan through the school, hoping it might reach him wherever he was. Update 2. We've been settled in our new apartment for 2 weeks now. I picked up weekend security shifts at Alex's workplace, which has helped with the tighter budget. Emma started at her new school and has already been invited to a classmate's birthday party next weekend. She seems cautiously excited about it. Yesterday, I received a call from a CPS caseworker named Mrs. Rodriguez who wanted to meet with me regarding Dylan's case. I arranged to meet her during my lunch break at a cafe near the warehouse. Mrs. Rodriguez explained that she couldn't share full details of the investigation, but wanted my first-hand account of what I'd observed while living next door to Karen. She took detailed notes as I described Karen's perfectionist tendencies, her dismissal of Dylan's bullying, and the incident with the switch. I also mentioned her explosive anger and the way she physically dragged Dylan away during our first meeting. After I finished, Mrs. Rodriguez revealed that Dylan had been temporarily placed with his maternal grandparents while the investigation continued. She said Dylan was receiving therapy and attending a different school. Most surprisingly, she mentioned that several other families from the neighborhood and school had come forward with concerns about Karen's behavior after the CPS investigation began. According to Mrs. Rodriguez, multiple parents reported witnessing Karen violently grab Dylan in public when he embarrassed her or didn't meet her expectations. 2 neighbors described hearing concerning sounds from their house at night. Dylan's previous teachers had documented instances where Karen refused to address his behavioral issues and instead blamed other children or the teachers themselves. What shocked me most was learning that Robert had filed for divorce and was seeking custody of Dylan. Mrs. Rodriguez said he claimed to be unaware of Karen's treatment of their son, as he was rarely home due to his work schedule. Whether this was true or just self-preservation, I couldn't be sure. Either way, he was now cooperating fully with the investigation and attending parenting classes. Mrs. Rodriguez thanked me for my initial report, saying it had been the catalyst that finally broke through the facade Karen had maintained for years. She mentioned that Emma's card had reached Dylan at his grandparents' house, and he had been touched by it. After my meeting with Mrs. Rodriguez, I contacted Tyler to see if he had any updates from the old neighborhood. He told me that Karen had become increasingly isolated. The neighbors who previously avoided confrontation had stopped hiding their disapproval. Karen's older children had visited briefly, but left after a huge argument that several neighbors overheard. Tyler also mentioned something concerning. Karen had been asking about where Emma and I had moved. She apparently claimed she wanted to apologize, but Tyler felt her interest seemed more hostile than remorseful. He assured me he hadn't revealed our new location. That evening, I received an email from Emma's new teacher. She wanted to let me know that Emma had voluntarily shared a story during class about moving to a new home and school. The teacher was impressed by Emma's resilience and thoughtfulness, particularly when other students asked questions about her situation. Emma had answered honestly but appropriately, without revealing too many personal details. The teacher ended her email by saying she thought Emma was adjusting well and showing signs of forming positive relationships with her classmates. Later, while helping Emma with her homework, I casually asked about her day and the story she had shared in class. She explained that the teacher had asked everyone to talk about a challenge they had overcome. Emma had decided to talk about our move because she was proud of how we had handled it. She said she told the class that sometimes people need to make big changes to find better situations, and that was okay. I noticed Emma had started keeping a small notebook where she wrote down positive things that happened each day. Today's entry mentioned making a friend named Olivia who liked the same books she did, getting a good grade on a math quiz, and successfully learning to braid her own hair, something Alex's girlfriend Jen had taught her last weekend. The improved security at the new apartment complex and school has helped me worry less when I'm at work. Emma now has my cell phone number memorized and carries a basic phone for emergencies. The school has strict pickup procedures, and Emma attends their after-school program until I can pick her up after my shift. While shopping for groceries this afternoon, I thought I glimpsed Karen near the store entrance, but when I looked again, she was gone. It might have been my imagination, but I decided to take a different route home just in case. I haven't mentioned this to Emma. There's no need to worry her when she's finally starting to feel settled and safe. Update 3. I need to start this update by thanking everyone who reached out with support and advice after my previous posts. Your encouragement has meant more than you know during this challenging time. 2 weeks ago, we had a significant scare. Emma was at her after-school program when the supervisor called me at work. Karen had shown up claiming to be Emma's mother and demanding to take her home. Thankfully, the school had strict procedures in place and had my photo ID on file as Emma's only authorized guardian. When they refused to release Emma to her, Karen became belligerent. The school called security and then the police. By the time I arrived, Karen had been taken to the police station. Emma was shaken, but physically unharmed. The school staff had acted quickly and kept her in a separate area away from Karen. I immediately filed for a restraining order against Karen, which was granted due to her attempt to remove Emma from school without authorization. The police officer who responded to the incident informed me that Karen had been displaying increasingly erratic behavior. She had lost her job after missing too many days during the investigation. Robert's divorce proceedings were moving forward, and he had been granted temporary full custody of Dylan, who was still staying with his grandparents. Karen had been caught driving past their home multiple times, despite being ordered to maintain distance. Mrs. Rodriguez contacted me the following day. She recommended that I document everything regarding Karen's attempt to take Emma and suggested we speak with a family lawyer about additional protective measures. She also shared, off the record, that the investigation had uncovered evidence of long-term emotional abuse and more recent physical abuse toward Dylan. Criminal charges against Karen were being considered. Emma has been remarkably resilient through all of this. The weekly sessions with her school counselor have been helping her process not only our recent experiences, but also our difficult past with our parents. She's made several friends at school and was recently chosen to help design scenery for the school play. Her teacher reports that she's excelling academically and has become more confident in class discussions. Last weekend, Mrs. Rodriguez arranged a supervised meeting between Emma and Dylan at a neutral location. I was hesitant at first, but Emma wanted to see him, and the therapist working with both children thought it might be beneficial. The meeting was brief, but positive. Dylan apologized for breaking Emma's switch and for his bullying behavior. Emma accepted his apology and shared some of her drawings with him. They didn't discuss Karen or the ongoing investigation. The focus was simply on closure for both children. After the meeting, Dylan's therapist pulled me aside and thanked me for reporting my concerns when I did. She explained that Dylan had been exhibiting classic signs of being in an abusive home for years, but no one had connected the dots or taken action until now. His behavior problems at school had been his way of seeking attention and expressing his anger in the only way he knew how. With consistent therapy and the stability provided by his grandparents, he was beginning to show significant improvement. As for Emma and me, we're continuing to build our new life. I received a promotion at the warehouse that came with a modest raise and better hours. I've also enrolled in weekend classes at the local community college, working toward an associate degree in business management. Emma has joined a youth art program at the community center and spends Saturday mornings learning different techniques from local artists. We still talk about what happened with Karen and Dylan, but these conversations happen less frequently now. Emma understands that while we can feel sympathy for Dylan's situation, we needed to protect ourselves by moving away and establishing boundaries. She's learning that caring about someone doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your own well-being. The restraining order against Karen remains in effect, and I've installed additional security measures at our apartment. I've also informed my workplace and Emma's school about the situation, ensuring they remain vigilant about who has access to either of us. Robert reached out through his lawyer to apologize for not recognizing what was happening in his home. He acknowledged that his frequent absences had allowed Karen's behavior to escalate unchecked, and he expressed genuine remorse for the impact on both Dylan and Emma. He's committed to being more present in Dylan's life moving forward and is working closely with therapists to help Dylan recover. Last night, Emma showed me a drawing she had been working on for days. It depicted a small house with a garden, 2 stick figures, clearly meant to be her and me, standing outside, and a bright sun overhead. She had written, "Our home someday," across the top. When I asked her about it, she explained that she wanted us to have our own house eventually, not just an apartment. She had added details she thought would be important: a vegetable garden because healthy food saves money, a small desk in each bedroom for studying, and a tree with a tire swing. I pinned the drawing to our refrigerator as a reminder of what we're working toward. Each day brings its challenges, but we're facing them together and building something better than what we left behind. The road hasn't been easy, and I know we still have obstacles ahead, but for the first time in a long while, I believe we're truly moving forward rather than just trying to escape the past. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2, my BF never wanted to go on dates. So I planned a solo date. Then he got mad, and it led to our breakup. 6 months later, I met someone new and my ex wants me back. But I have a shocking surprise for him. I've been with Rupert for 3 years now, and I'm starting to feel like we're stuck in a never-ending loop of dullness. I'm 25, he's 29, and we live together in a small apartment in the city. I work as a graphic designer for a local marketing firm, and Rupert's a software developer at a tech startup. We met through mutual friends at a house party, and it was one of those instant connections you hear about but rarely experience. I remember that night so vividly. Rupert was standing in the corner, nursing a beer and looking a bit out of place. I was drawn to his quiet demeanor and the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his latest coding project. We spent hours chatting about everything from our favorite books to our dreams for the future. By the end of the night, I felt like I'd known him for years. Our first year together was magical. We were constantly trying new things: salsa dancing classes, weekend hiking trips, spontaneous road trips to nearby towns. Rupert was always up for an adventure, and I loved how he pushed me out of my comfort zone. I still smile when I think about the time we got lost on a trail and ended up camping under the stars because we couldn't find our way back before nightfall. But somewhere along the way, things changed. It happened so gradually that I didn't notice at first. Rupert started working longer hours as his startup grew. I got busier with my job and decided to pursue a part-time master's degree in digital media. Slowly but surely, our exciting outings were replaced by nights in front of the TV. Now it feels like pulling teeth to get Rupert to do anything outside the apartment. The last time we went on a proper date was over 2 months ago, and even then, it was only because I planned the whole thing myself. I made reservations at this cute little Italian place that had just opened up, bought tickets to an indie film festival, the works. Rupert seemed to enjoy it at the time, but he hasn't made any effort to plan anything since. Most of our evenings now follow the same mind-numbing routine. We both get home from work, Rupert immediately plops down on the couch to play video games, and I end up scrolling on my phone or half-heartedly watching whatever's on Netflix. Sometimes we'll cook dinner together, but more often than not, we just order delivery. It's gotten to the point where I dread our days off together because I know we'll just be sitting around the apartment all day. I've tried talking to Rupert about this multiple times. I've explained that going on regular dates is important to me. Even just once a month would make a huge difference. But every time I bring it up, he has an excuse. He's too tired from work. He needs to save money. He just wants to relax at home. I've even tried suggesting spontaneous outings, like grabbing drinks at this cool new speakeasy that opened up in our neighborhood, or checking out the farmer's market on Saturday mornings. But Rupert always groans and says he needs to mentally prepare for going out. By the time he feels ready, the day is half over, and I've lost my enthusiasm. The thing is, I know Rupert isn't completely averse to socializing. He has no problem making plans with his friends for game nights or going to sports bars to watch football. But when it comes to spending quality time with me, he's suddenly too tired or broke. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I asking for too much by wanting one real date a month? I don't need anything fancy or expensive. I'd be happy with a picnic in the park or even just a long walk around a new neighborhood. I just want to feel like Rupert is making an effort to spend time with me and create memories together. To make matters worse, all of my close friends have moved away over the past year for various job opportunities. My best friend Sarah, who I've known since high school, got a fantastic job offer in Seattle. Another close friend, Mike, moved to New York to pursue his dream of becoming a Broadway actor. And my college roommate, Lisa, is now teaching English in Japan. My family lives several hours away in a small town where I grew up. I try to visit when I can, but between work and grad school, those trips are few and far between. I miss the Sunday dinners with my parents and siblings, the easy laughter and inside jokes that come from years of shared history. I'm in grad school part-time on top of working full-time, so between work and classes, I don't have much of a social life outside of Rupert. Most days I'm rushing from the office to evening classes, grabbing quick dinners between lectures and group projects. By the time I get home, I'm exhausted, but I still crave that connection with Rupert. I love Rupert, and when things are good between us, they're really good. He can be incredibly sweet and supportive. I remember when I was stressing out about a big project at work. He surprised me by cleaning the entire apartment and making my favorite dinner. He always remembers important dates like my birthday and our anniversary. He'll bring me little gifts or my favorite snacks when he knows I've had a rough day, but I'm starting to wonder if that's enough. I miss the Rupert who was excited to try new restaurants with me, who would surprise me with tickets to concerts or art exhibits. I miss feeling like we were partners in adventure, not just roommates who occasionally have sex. I've tried explaining to Rupert how important quality time and shared experiences are to me. I've told him that I feel loved and appreciated when he makes an effort to plan dates or outings for us, but he doesn't seem to get it. He thinks buying me flowers once in a while or cuddling on the couch should be enough. Last week, I hit a breaking point. Rupert had promised we'd go out on Saturday, said he'd planned something special. I was so excited, I even bought a new dress for the occasion. Saturday morning came, and Rupert was still in bed at noon. When he finally got up, he said he wasn't feeling well and just wanted to stay in. I was disappointed, but tried to be understanding. Then his friend called and invited him to a last-minute game night. Suddenly, Rupert was feeling well enough to go out. He asked if I wanted to come along, but I was so hurt and angry that I just told him to go without me. I spent the night alone in our apartment, fighting back tears and wondering how we'd gotten to this point. I'm at a loss for what to do next. I love Rupert, and I know he loves me. But is love enough when you feel like you're living parallel lives instead of building a life together? Am I being unreasonable here? Should I just accept that this is how our relationship is going to be? Or is this a sign of a deeper incompatibility? I don't want to give up on us, but I also don't want to spend the rest of my life feeling lonely in my own relationship. Any advice would be appreciated. Edit. Wow, I wasn't expecting this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for the advice and support. To clarify a few things, Rupert and I have similar incomes, so money isn't really the issue here. We could easily afford to go out once a month if we cut back on takeout and video game purchases. Rupert doesn't have any diagnosed mental health issues that I'm aware of. He's generally a happy, laid-back guy. He just prefers staying home to going out. I've suggested plenty of free or low-cost date ideas, but Rupert shoots them down too. It's not about the money, it's about the effort. I'm going to have one more serious talk with Rupert about this. If things don't improve, I'll have to seriously reconsider our relationship. Thanks again, everyone. Update 1. It's been about a month since my original post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It really helped me gain perspective on my situation. After reading through all the comments, I realized I needed to have a serious, no-holds-barred conversation with Rupert. I decided to plan it carefully. I chose a Saturday morning when we were both off work and well-rested. I even made his favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup, hoping it would put him in a receptive mood. As we sat at our tiny kitchen table, the morning sunlight streaming through the window, I laid it all out. How neglected and unappreciated I felt. How important quality time and shared experiences are to me, and how his lack of effort was affecting my feelings for him. I told him about the night he went to the game night after canceling our plans, how hurt and angry I felt. At first, Rupert got defensive. He started listing off all the things he does for me and how he shows his love in other ways. I work hard to provide for us, he said. I always remember your birthday and our anniversary. Isn't that enough? But I stood my ground. I explained that while I appreciate those things, they're not enough for me to feel fulfilled in our relationship. I reminded him of how we used to be, the adventures we had, the excitement we felt just being together. What happened to that Rupert? I asked. The one who was always up for trying new things with me? After a lot of back and forth, Rupert finally admitted that he's been feeling insecure lately. Apparently, he's been struggling at work. There's been talk of layoffs, and he's worried he might lose his job. The startup he works for has been having financial difficulties, and the stress has been eating away at him. He confessed that he's been retreating into video games as a way to escape his stress and anxiety. When I'm gaming, he said, I don't have to think about work or bills or any of that stuff. I can just be someone else for a while. I was shocked. Rupert had never mentioned any of this to me before. When I asked why he didn't tell me, he said he was embarrassed and didn't want me to think less of him. He also confessed that he sometimes feels intimidated by my outgoing nature and worries that I'll realize I can do better than him. You're always so confident, he said. You make friends easily. You're doing great at work and in grad school. Sometimes I feel like I'm holding you back. This revelation changed everything. Suddenly, Rupert's behavior made a lot more sense. We spent hours talking that day, really opening up to each other in a way we hadn't in a long time. I shared my own insecurities, how I sometimes feel lonely and isolated since all my friends moved away, how I worry that I'm not good enough for my grad program. It was like a dam had broken. All the things we'd been holding back came pouring out. We laughed, we cried, we held each other. For the first time in months, I felt truly connected to Rupert again. After our talk, Rupert promised to make more of an effort. He agreed to therapy to work on his anxiety and communication issues. And true to his word, he's been trying. Last week, he surprised me with a picnic in the park. It wasn't anything fancy, just some sandwiches and fruit he packed himself, but the effort meant the world to me. We've also started having a weekly date night where we take turns planning an activity. Sometimes it's as simple as trying a new recipe together or having a game night. Other times, we'll go out to explore a new part of the city. Last week, Rupert found this quirky little museum of oddities that we spent hours exploring, laughing at the weird exhibits and making up stories about them. We've also been working on our individual issues. Rupert has had a few therapy sessions, and he says it's helping him manage his work stress better. He's even started looking for a new job, one that might be less stressful and more stable. For my part, I've been making an effort to build a social life outside of our relationship. I joined a book club that meets monthly at a local cafe. It's been nice to have intellectual discussions about something other than work or school, and I'm slowly starting to form friendships with some of the other members. Things aren't perfect. Rupert still has moments where he retreats into himself, and I'm still working on being patient and understanding, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction. We're communicating better, and I can see Rupert really trying to meet my needs. One unexpected outcome of all this is that I've started reconnecting with old friends. Realizing how isolated I'd become was a wake-up call. I've reached out to some college friends who live in nearby cities, and we're planning a girls' weekend next month. Rupert was surprisingly supportive of this idea, even offering to help me plan some activities for when my friends visit. I know we still have a lot of work to do, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful about our relationship. Rupert is making a real effort, and I can see how much he cares. We're both learning to be more open and honest with each other, and it's making a big difference. Thank you all again for your advice and support. It really made a difference. I'll keep you updated on how things go. Update 2. I wish I had better news to share, but things have taken a turn for the worse. It's been about 3 months since my last update, and I'm sad to say that Rupert and I have broken up. At first, things seemed to be improving. Rupert was making an effort to plan dates and spend quality time together. He started seeing a therapist to work on his anxiety and communication issues. For a while, I really thought we were going to make it. We had some great moments during this time. I remember one weekend when Rupert surprised me with a day trip to a nearby town known for its antique shops and art galleries. We spent hours browsing dusty shelves, laughing at weird old knickknacks, and even bought a quirky little painting for our apartment. It felt like old times, and I was so happy. But as time went on, Rupert started slipping back into old habits. The date nights became less frequent, and when we did have them, it felt like Rupert was just going through the motions. He'd plan something, but he'd be distracted and disengaged the whole time. I tried to be patient and understanding. I know change doesn't happen overnight, and I wanted to give Rupert the time and space he needed to work on himself, but it became clear that he wasn't really committed to making lasting changes. The breaking point came about 2 weeks ago. There was an art exhibit I'd been excited about for months, a retrospective of my favorite contemporary artist. I'd been talking about it for weeks, and Rupert knew how much it meant to me. He had promised to take me, even bought tickets in advance. The day of the exhibit, Rupert texted me saying he wasn't feeling well and wanted to stay home. I was disappointed but understanding. If he was sick, he was sick. I decided to go to the exhibit alone, not wanting to miss it. But then, as I was leaving the gallery, I saw something that made my heart drop. Rupert was across the street, laughing and joking with his friends as they entered a sports bar. When I confronted him about it later, he got defensive and accused me of spying on him. We had a huge fight, and all the issues we'd been trying to work on came rushing back to the surface. Rupert admitted that he resented the pressure he felt to constantly plan dates and go out. He said he felt like he couldn't be himself around me anymore, that he was always walking on eggshells trying to meet my expectations. "I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not," he said. "I like staying home. I like playing video games. Why isn't that enough?" Hearing that was like a punch to the gut. I realized that despite all our talks and promises to change, we were fundamentally incompatible. Rupert wants a partner who's content with a quiet, home-centered life. I need someone who shares my love of exploration and new experiences. We talked for hours that night, crying and reminiscing about the good times we'd shared. We talked about our first date, the camping trip where we got lost, all the plans we'd made for the future. But in the end, we both agreed that it was best to end things now before we grew to resent each other even more. The past 2 weeks have been really tough. Moving out and dividing our shared belongings was heartbreaking. Every little thing brought back memories. The coffee maker we bought together, the silly magnets on the fridge from our trips, even the worn-out welcome mat by the door. I'm staying with a friend from my book club for now, trying to figure out my next steps. The hardest part is the silence. I keep expecting to hear Rupert's laugh or the sound of his keyboard clacking as he works. The emptiness is deafening. But despite the pain, I know in my heart that it's the right decision for both of us. We were holding each other back, trying to force a relationship that just wasn't meant to be. I'm trying to focus on the positives. The girls' weekend I mentioned in my last update was amazing, and it reminded me how much I'd been missing having close friendships. I'm throwing myself into my grad school work and picking up some old hobbies I'd let fall by the wayside. Yesterday, I dug out my old sketchbook and spent hours drawing, something I used to love but had given up when life got busy. It felt good to create something just for myself, without worrying about anyone else's expectations. It hurts right now, but I'm hopeful for the future. I know now what I need in a partner, and I won't settle for less again. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. I'll update again when I'm in a better place. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my breakup with Rupert, and I wanted to share a final update. A lot has changed, and I'm in a much better place now. After the breakup, I threw myself into self-improvement. I finished my grad school program, graduating with honors. My final project even won an award at the department showcase. It felt good to accomplish something I had worked so hard for, especially after everything that had happened with Rupert. I also landed a great new job at a design agency. It's challenging work, but I love the creative environment and the opportunity to collaborate with other artists and designers. My colleagues are fantastic, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm part of a community again. In an effort to get out of my comfort zone and meet new people, I started volunteering at a local animal shelter on weekends. It's been incredibly rewarding. There's something about spending time with animals that just lifts your spirits. Plus, I've met some wonderful people there who share my love for animals. I've also renewed old friendships and made new ones through a hiking group I joined. We go on weekend trips to nearby trails, and it's been amazing to explore the natural beauty around our city. Last month, we did an overnight camping trip, and sitting around the campfire with my new friends, sharing stories and roasting marshmallows, I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't experienced in years. About 2 months ago, I met someone new. His name is Alex, and we met at a pottery class I signed up for on a whim. He's creative, adventurous, and shares my love of trying new things. We've been on some amazing dates, from kayaking to attending local theater productions to trying out weird fusion restaurants. The best part is, I don't have to beg or plead for quality time with Alex. He's just as excited about planning outings as I am. Last week, he surprised me with tickets to an outdoor concert in the park. We packed a picnic, brought a blanket, and spent the evening listening to music under the stars. It was simple, but perfect. We're taking things slow, but I'm excited about where this could go. Alex and I have talked about our past relationships and what we're looking for in a partner. We both value open communication and shared experiences, which feels like a breath of fresh air after my relationship with Rupert. Looking back, I can see how much I compromised my own happiness trying to make things work with Rupert. I don't regret our time together. I learned a lot about myself and what I need in a relationship, but I'm glad I had the courage to walk away when it became clear we weren't right for each other. I still have moments of sadness when I think about Rupert and what might have been, but those moments are becoming fewer and farther between. Instead, I'm focused on building a life that makes me happy, with or without a partner. My apartment is finally starting to feel like home. I've filled it with plants, art I love, and mementos from my recent adventures. It's a space that reflects who I am and what I value. I'm excited for this new chapter in my life. I feel more confident, more self-aware, and more open to whatever the future might bring. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your advice and encouragement helped me more than you know. To anyone out there in a similar situation, don't be afraid to ask for what you need in a relationship. You deserve to be with someone who makes you feel loved and appreciated in the ways that matter to you. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something that's no longer serving you. It might hurt in the short term, but it opens you up to new possibilities and growth. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to find out. Here's to new beginnings and living life on our own terms.